Welcome back to the Overthinking Podcast, where science meets hot takes and we help you make sense of the chaos in your brain and your body. And today we're talking about something most of us feel every month but rarely get clear answers on: how your menstrual cycle affects your training. And we're joined by someone we trust deeply, and to help us navigate the science without the BS, Claire Zai.
Claire is a strength coach, educator, and founder of the Women's Strength Lab. She has her master's in physiology, has coached for 7 years, and now she's in med school with a particular interest in women's health. And not only that, she was a bridesmaid in my wedding. But in any case, she's here to help you understand your body better so you can train smarter and feel confident in the gym. So let's get into it. But first,
We love to do a little icebreaker here, and usually it's a this or that, but today is a little different. So, Kelsey, set us up for this one.
So everyone always asks about our superpower, right? But I want to know, if you're a superhero with whatever powers that you have, what is the villain that you would fight? Claire?
Man, okay, so I think the biggest villain I would want to fight is the patriarchy. That's the thing that I want to tear
That's a
down the
big
most.
villain. That's a big
It's
villain.
a big villain,
Yeah.
but I feel like my whole life's purpose is kind of pointed towards that, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
By way of lifting women up so they realize their potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's how we bring down the patriarchy, or chip away at it at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least from our perspective, that's how I would want to kind of tackle it.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's not the only way to do it, right? Everyone will have a way, but that's my way.
Yeah. So your villain is just men.
It'll be
Or the
death
system-
by
the
a million
systems
paper
they've
cuts,
created.
and we all have our paper cut to give, okay?
Yeah.
Men who hate women specifically.
Yeah, I think it's more so the systems that men create and have created in the past that I want to break down.
Yeah.
Because I don't think men are the villain, even though sometimes I want to shake all of them and be like,
Yeah.
why are you doing this?
Right.
But yeah.
We love our men, especially the ones that respect us and think of us as equals, for sure.
Mm-hmm. What about you guys?
Bree, who's your villain?
Okay, mine's kind of adjacent. I went a little more literal with it, okay? Mine is Ursula, which is the villain in The Little Mermaid, because she thrives on stealing, she just thrives on silencing women and making them doubt their own power.
Yeah.
She would not let The Little Mermaid live her best life because that was literally her only thing.
She stole her voice,
She
right?
stole her voice. She stole her ability to, her greatest love.
So it's like men who hate women plus women who also subscribe to
Yes.
and benefit off the patriarchy.
And shrink women who shrink other women.
Ooh, I love that.
Ugh.
Yeah, we don't like the pick me girls that are down to just put other girls down, right?
No. There's a special place in hell for those women.
So
and they went to
I
my
love
high
the
school.
theme that we have going on here. Mine is going to be a hard departure from both of your guys's. But my villain is going to be, I would be a traffic vigilante. I am here to fight the people driving in the left lane, in the fast lane, not doing zooms. They're going the speed limit. I need you to get the fuck out of that lane. And this is something that I feel very passionate about.
I couldn't tell.
Kelsey has a camera on her car that's not, it's to watch other people driving.
Oh, I know.
It's facing outwards so that other people, I'm saying for the listeners to know, this is a very passionate topic for Kelsey.
Because the amount of times that I get into shit, and it's just people on the roads are so dumb. People in California specifically do not know how stop signs work. And I'm like, don't wave me on when I haven't even stopped yet. I don't want you to be polite. I want you to be predictable. So that's my villain. I'm here to be the traffic vigilante.
I love that. I think that's a perfect one for you. I would love to see some footage of you getting heated. Is there audio on the camera, or is it just?
Yes, there is.
I think so. Yes.
Amazing. Stay tuned.
Claire has been in the car with me when I was probably driving a little crazier than I needed to be. And there was this divot in the road that I didn't see because it was pretty blind, right? And Seth's parents were in the car and his stepdad was having back problems at that specific moment. And I took this fucking divot like hard. And my car, I'm pretty sure, got air. And the audio is like, whoa!
And it was like, why don't they warn you? And I was
Yes.
like, well, Kelsey, there was a stoplight there.
Well, it was green.
I do stand by the fact that all stop signs should have the option to be yields. Like city by city. You know what I mean? Like leave it, maybe not city by city. I don't know. But I feel like there's
Yeah.
I just don't
there's
trust
room
other
for
people
more
with
yield.
that kind of.
I think we got to get to the root of the intelligence problem before we allow people some self-governance in
You're
terms
right.
of traffic rules.
I
But
was just talking to my friends who live in Australia, and they were saying that they have cameras everywhere to like get you on traffic infringements.
oh, hell yeah.
And it works. Like
Hell yeah.
you cannot touch your phone, and the
Yeah.
fine is like $1,000.
That's a new rule going around in some states. California just
California's
implemented
one of
it.
them, yeah.
It's a no touch rule. If they catch you touching your phone, even if it's changing Spotify or maps, they're going to fine you. They're going to pull you over and you're going to get a
No
ticket.
touchy when they pull you over. No touchy the phone. Okay, but I do think that I still stand by the yields. I don't know. Like in neighborhoods, you know, it's like it's not high traffic.
100%. In neighborhoods, I'm like, I'm going 20, but we're
Except
going
for
down
the
to
fact
rabbit
that
hole.
there's children.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I think stop signs should stay.
There's
stop signs.
exclusions to everything. Just
But there's like an abundance of stop signs. I'm like, how about a speed bump instead?
No.
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 Why?
Kelsey, you've
You
seen
are
me
team speed bump.
Yeah, Claire's bad at speed bumps.
Okay, this is gonna be our this or that. Stop sign, yield, or speed bump.
Is a fuck, marry, kill?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for next week. Let's get
Yeah,
into the
stay tuned.
topic.
Okay.
Let's get into our topic.
We've got a lot of brain we got to pick.
Yes, Claire has so much knowledge for us, and I'm so excited. This is a topic that has been all over social media, whether you should change your training around your period. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So you might have seen through various fitness coaches or enthusiasts, you might have heard the term cycle syncing. There's a lot of information out there, and a lot of it might be a little misleading. So I think we can all agree that the menstrual cycle isn't necessarily a barrier, but rather a valuable source of information. So we should use that data, right? So, how could understanding your menstrual cycle influence the way we show up to training, Claire?
Yeah. So first, I want to kind of dig into what the menstrual cycle is, if that's okay, and like the phases of it.
Let's do it.
And so the menstrual cycle officially starts when you start bleeding. So when you start having menses. I'm sorry about the cat. She has lots of opinions too. So when you
She's
start
also been
bleeding,
studying for med school. Okay.
it's all important. It's all important. So when you start, you're going to be in your follicular phase. So when you start bleeding, you're in your follicular phase. You have a developing follicle that's occurring like within your ovaries. And then by the time you get to ovulation, some people call it the ovulatory period, but this is when the follicle bursts and the egg is released from that follicle. And then you have the luteal phase. And so there are different hormone levels that occur kind of between these two phases. There is higher estrogen overall during the follicular phase, and then estrogen is much higher during the luteal phase. And that's
So follicular is like day 1 to 14. So the moment you
Correct.
start bleeding through your period until around 14 when you would ovulate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so the features of follicular phase might be like higher energy, higher pain tolerance, or like what are the features of each phase?
Yeah, so it can be really hard. Typically, we're saying higher energy, higher pain tolerance, things like that. But the thing that I want to draw specific attention to, that all of this is based on a 28-day cycle. 28-day cycle is the average cycle for women. And so when we say, and this will come up later when we talk about cycle syncing, is like, okay, if you base your workouts on just 14 days and then, or just 28 days, you don't actually know if you're in your follicular or your ovulatory or your luteal phase, because everyone is different. Like, it is normal to have a period. It is normal if your menstrual cycle is less than 28 days, more than 28 days. There's even irregularities between cycles, as many of us know, and there's irregularities between, or like differences between women. So like those differences make the correlation between higher estrogen, which is thought to be a little bit more anabolic,
Which is
versus
funny because I feel like people have always thought like estrogen is bad, right?
Yeah, like if you look
Wait, did I mess
estrogenic,
that
like
up?
you look inflamed and puffy.
Yeah,
People
like
say
people give
that.
estrogen a bad rap.
But
Social
like
media says
maybe
that.
it's our secret
Well,
power?
so here's the thing, regardless of what you claim, like you can have multiple different things, but generally when we're talking about the menstrual cycle, we're saying, all right, there's one phase where you feel stronger and there's one phase where you don't. And that is completely anecdotal. We don't have good evidence that one of those is better than the other. Generally, right before your period, most people feel less good, less strong. So, like that luteal phase, people are not feeling as powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That's when progesterone is higher. Estrogen is also high, but it's like spiking. So, it's not like super easy to be like estrogen is high in one and low in the other. It's like changing in both. It's more
Right.
consistent in the luteal phase, and I'm sorry, in the follicular phase, and less consistent in the luteal phase. It's changing more. So it's just like unfair to women to say like this is exactly what's happening, because you actually don't know
And it's
unless you're
also based on
taking
the assumption of the average woman, which
exactly. So
where is
unless
that
you're,
even coming from?
yeah,
Yeah,
unless you're
who's
taking
average?
Yeah.
I don't know, not us. Um like for example, I have a 21-day cycle. I know that about myself, and that's a short cycle. But also, like, if I was to just base that on days, I'm like, are both of my phases the same length? I don't know. Um,
Are they
and I,
consistently 21 days?
when I was naturally cycling, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's also reductionist to say like everyone feels shitty in the 2 weeks of your luteal phase, therefore I must do Pilates, right? Like
Right.
that seems a little reductionist. Like
Yes.
maybe, yes, you feel tired, but also what if a workout helps you get over that?
Yeah. And Claire, I know you say we're human first and female second, and maybe this
Hmm.
ties in there well as well.
Yeah.
Well as
So,
well.
well, as well.
Well, as well.
So I think to be super clear, like, it's also not necessarily your menstrual cycle itself that makes you feel shitty. So, when you are thinking about the menstrual cycle, and particularly PMS, which is premenstrual symptoms, or premenstrual syndrome. Yeah. So, if we're talking about the PMS, if we're talking about PMS, your sleep is sometimes disturbed during your menstrual cycle. Your hunger and appetite cues are a little bit different. It's usually like 200 calories per day different. And like you just feel a little bit different, which is totally normal, but we also feel totally different after a bad day at work. We feel
Totally.
different after
Mhm.
any bad day of sleep, bad night's sleep. And so instead of saying like, oh gosh, it's the menstrual cycle, like everything is ruined, let's just say, okay, you're a human, you experience bad feelings. How are we going to deal with that in a way that doesn't entirely disrupt your entire life?
And your rhythms and your routines and
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
So the TLDR, right? Like cycle syncing, is it helpful or harmful?
harmful.
Yeah.
and why
And
is it specifically harmful? Because I think
yeah,
there's a big belief here, and I want us to just like highlight it.
well, the belief is that you're going to, how I understand it, and trying to give these people the benefit of the doubt that they do want to help other people, is that you are going to be working with your body in a way that supports it, right? But in reality, what you're doing, like, and particularly for women who strength train heavy, like we do, what is so problematic is that you're asking someone to take a whole week or 2 weeks off. And if you do the math, it's something like 9 years of your life where you're not training heavy. And
Wow.
like in a world where that is so pivotal, like strength training is so pivotal for our health and wellness and ability to be successful and autonomous in the world, we don't want to lose 9 years of training.
Right.
just because of our menstrual cycle, when we have very valid and reasonable ways to work around it. And we can talk about the different ways to work around it. We have one really big one that works really well, and then lots of other different, like, little ways to keep that behavior of strength training up and like high. So,
And cycle syncers, like, what is the threat of, oh my God, if I lift heavy during my period, what is the threat? I know we've seen some science come out recently about the correlation between ACL tears and menstrual cycles, but like, and you don't even have to speak to that right now because maybe that's not related, but
oh, it
is
is.
there increased risk?
So there is some idea that your tendons become more lax during certain phases of your menstrual cycle, which we do see an increase in uh, ACL tears during certain phases of the menstrual cycle. I don't know if that has been corroborated with hormone studies where they're like actually measuring hormones of all of the people when people are tearing their ACLs. That's
Hmm.
a much harder study to do. But
Versus like a yes, no, are you bleeding kind of thing.
or like, when was your last menstrual cycle?
Yeah.
All very valid. And so you just don't know if it's hormone related, or here's the like hypothesis that I have that I would actually love to test would be, all right, are women who are actually training heavy, like in soccer, and have been trained heavy for a long period of time, are they at lower risk for ACL tears just because they actually have more muscle around their knees to help support their ACL? So,
I would love to know the
Right.
results of
I
that.
want that study. You're
Yeah,
not doing
yeah,
let's
it.
how do we do
Are you
that?
bleeding or
Let's
not? Is
start
your ACL
recruiting.
at risk? No, I want to know that.
Let's
I
start recruiting.
I could actually run that study. I should do it. Um,
Bree can be your athlete. She's got a whole slew of
Hey,
athletes.
I've got 3 teams I have access to here in Chicago. You tell us what you need. Let's make this happen.
I mean, I would probably want to pull from college athletes just so it's like a very simple study beyond the point of this podcast. So, and so instead of saying like, oh, hey, we need to protect women during their menstrual cycle, instead, we need to be saying we need to prepare women for whatever comes their way during their menstrual cycle. And I think I would
I
need
love
to,
that take.
yeah. So, like, it's not about saying you're fragile, we need to protect you. It's you have this thing that happens every month. How do we make sure that you're prepared for it?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, like, well, you're a woman, so obviously we need to protect you. No.
I feel like it's so interesting to think about because all of this like cycle syncing is kind of like a false flag, right? Like reclaim your autonomy by understanding your cycle and training with your body. But it's almost got this reverse effect where it's hindering our progress
Yeah.
and our ability to maintain muscle mass across the lifespan, to improve bone mass across the lifespan, to see the aesthetic results that we want. So we know that women already have barriers to strength training, to being in the gym, to
Right.
not feeling comfortable, to not feeling confident.
Right.
Why would we put more barriers in front of women to make them think about more things when we could just say, let's be consistent across the entire month and take into account your period?
Yeah. And think
Yep.
about the same woman who's cycle syncing, and the first 14 days of their cycle, they're like, oh, I'm doing Pilates and yoga and some walks. And then it gets to day 15 and your boyfriend broke up with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what if
Which
you still
also
Okay.
feel
just
like
flip
shit?
that
I was
brain,
just
how they
waiting and
think
waiting
about
for
it.
my training day, and now all of a
Mhm.
sudden I have now 28 days of no lifting, and then I've lost all motivation. I feel bad about myself.
Mhm.
Shame game is happening. It's like it's just an unrealistic way, but if you can train someone to think about, okay, how am I feeling today? Maybe in relation to my cycle, right? Maybe in relation to my mood and all those things, but not just like dogmatically because, right? Is that what
Mhm.
you're saying?
Yeah, and how I often will tell people to think about this when we're working together, like when I'm coaching people, they're like, I know my period will happen during a meet. And I'm like, okay, let's plan that you know how to handle that. And we're going to look at your symptoms. We're going to make sure that sleep is extra good. We're going to plan for that and be prepared for it because we know it could happen. And instead of saying, like, oh, I can't lift because it's my period, we're going to instead say, it's my period. I need to plan a little bit better. Or I don't even, because I have an IUD, so I can't actually track my cycle very easily and I don't care to. I'm just like, maybe like when I have a bad day, I'm like, well, maybe it was my period. Who knows? Like, and
Yeah.
just like move on with my life. Like, I have bad days. It's nice to have something to blame it on. And then I move on from it.
Yeah.
So,
Most of the time, like, what is it? Correlation's not causation, or
yeah,
causation's not correlation, or whatever
the
the
first one.
saying is.
Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
someone who
Correlation
struggles
is
with
not.
PMS symptoms, then maybe you are someone that you just really safeguard your routines and your circadian rhythm and all of your healthy habits in preparation for that so you don't make your PMS symptoms worse, right? Then you can actually probably right size, how is my body actually doing, or am I just suffering because I had a
Mm-hmm.
breakup or suffering because I had a bad night's sleep?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you
So,
mentioned, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's just about setting yourself up for like good stuff instead of saying like, oh, it's just a change in mindset, right? Like, oh, I have this thing coming, I want to be prepared, instead of saying like, oh, I have this thing coming, it's going to be awful, right?
Right.
Like,
You're
Right.
manifesting the bad shit.
mm-hmm.
What if your period is, like, divine and it's feminine? It's the, like, the most womanly thing about you. I mean, I know I'm the woo-woo one on this podcast, but even still, like, even a shift in mindset of, like, "No, this is happening for me. This is happening for me, so I could have a baby if I wanted to." Kelsey, you're like, "God forbid," but,
Yeah,
I think that
I
there's
would also look at it. We're starting to think that the menstrual cycle happens as a protective process to
Mm,
protect us from disease and infection. Because if
I
you
love
have
that.
something that,
interesting.
yeah, so it's not in order for us to have a baby. It's to, because we carry this lining that is very good at hosting organisms, i.e., fetuses.
Fetuses,
It also
Parasite.
would be very
little
good at
parasites.
hosting bacteria and viruses and other parasites that we don't want. So every month when we shed it, it's a cleaning process, not because we are dirty, but because we have this thing that allows us to hold life. So,
And that makes us so special.
sure. Lots of people can hold life, but sure.
Yeah. So I want to circle back because you mentioned strategies that we can use to
Mhm.
accommodate normal fluctuations in feeling like shit, whether it's your period, whether it's a headache, whether it's a migraine, whether it's a breakup. What is the strategy?
Yeah.
I know Bree and I have talked about this on a couple episodes before. We all feel the same. Let's let the listeners know what we use to adjust
Mhm.
our training.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's super simple and kind of boring, which makes it like really hard to sell sometimes when other people are talking about these fancy, beautiful programs that
I
Right?
was
apparently,
thinking, it sounds so
yeah,
cool.
it sounds so cool, right? And auto regulation sounds really boring in comparison.
Because
Oh, you're
people
gonna
hear
go
it
to
and
the,
they're like, what the fuck is that?
yeah, you're gonna go to the gym and you're gonna do what feels good to that day. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mind boggling, but that's truly what it is. And so auto regulation can happen in multiple different ways. You can auto regulate intensity. And so you can say, okay, I am going to auto regulate my intensity by bringing the weight down, or I'm going to auto regulate volume by pulling down the number of reps that I do, or like doing the number of reps that get me to a certain difficulty level is more accurate. And so,
I love
what this is allowing you to do is get, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but what this is allowing you to do when you have fluctuations due to your menstrual cycle is say, okay, here are the things that are important to me. I'm going to do as much as I can to hit a similar level of difficulty that I do on other weeks. And then I'm going to go home. And then I'm going to go about my normal schedule, do what actually is going to get me closer to my goals.
Or
Do the
just
thing you need
feeling
to
better.
do the thing you need to do, and then you can go back to rot time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we all love rot time.
Claire,
Yeah.
do you ever
Bleeding.
struggle with any of your clients who are more of that, like, hard charger avatar who, like, maybe they were former athletes or are athletes and it's like, "No, no, I'm okay. I can do the training," even though they feel like shit? Or
Oh,
Like, how do you pull the
yeah,
reins?
like, how do or maybe because you know your clients best, right? I know my clients best. Like, I know certain ones I have to keep an eye on when
Mm.
I know they're feeling worse than they're telling me to because I still wanna train. Like, is there
mm,
anything on that end of the spectrum that you've noticed?
in regards to the menstrual cycle, no.
Okay,
Because I use RPE, which
reversed.
is a form of autoregulation, so strictly with my clients. I know the ones who overshoot just because they overshoot, and I know the ones who undershoot just because they undershoot. So I know based on that it doesn't change with the menstrual cycle. There's nothing about that, unless a client asks me about it. I'm like, I don't really care that it's your period. I care because I care about you, and I don't
Yeah.
want you to be in pain because the menstrual cycle hurts. But I'm not tracking it for you. I have a client who leaves a little, like the little blood drop every time she is on her period and training, and it's really cute, and it's nice for her to be able to track it. But for me, I'm like, okay, cool. We'll keep going. No changes. So
Great.
And then conversely, like if a client comes to you and they're like, I just feel like I don't know if you coach these types of people, but if someone's like, I just feel really like tired or I have a headache or like they just happen, you probably coach people like this before where it's like,
yeah,
it just seems to be one thing after the other and they just can't find their
Mm.
footing. And it's not because
Oh, yeah.
necessarily they don't want to, but there's just like thing after thing that keeps getting them down. How do you coach
yeah,
those types of people?
that sounds more like behavior change more than like coaching.
Yeah.
And so in those situations, I'm like, all right, how can we get at least something in? And okay, something is better than nothing. And then it's a learning process of like, okay, how do I teach this client how to figure out what works for them?
Love that.
So I know autoregulation, and I'm gonna little plug here. If you want to understand autoregulation a little bit more, episode 10 on our podcast is all about autoregulation. So feel free to refer back to that. But Claire, I wanted to ask you about repeated bout effect. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so the repeated bout effect is this idea that when you complete an exercise, you get marginally better at that exercise. It's kind of an unmeasurable amount. But when you get better at that exercise, the next time you go back to do that exercise, you're going to get better again, but a little bit less better. And so there's this diminishing return that kind of occurs when you are working in doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. But why this is important is when we're talking about doing the same thing every week, week on, week on, week on, week on, week on, is that doing it over and over again means that you're going to get the maximum amount of gains, literally adaptation
Realist.
from this exercise. Some neural, some muscular, some just other stuff, right? Metabolic stuff. But some of this stuff is also, so like when you're switching it up every week, you're actually missing out on a bunch of adaptations that you could be getting. Hence why doing this like cycle syncing of, okay, I'm going to do Pilates this week and I don't know, cycling next week and powerlifting the next week, you're not getting that repeated bout effect in the same way.
You're leaving like those adaptations or gains on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep.
It's kind of like when people do CrossFit in like the first like 5 months, like I've lost all this body weight and I'm just like an absolute god. And it's like, well, no, you were climbing a big hill, right? Like the rate of adaptation is so much higher when you're starting something new or doing
Mm-hmm.
something, right? And then you repeat
You
it
Yeah.
got the
again and
newbie
again.
gains.
Yeah, it's the newbie
Yeah.
gains effect.
Which are mostly neural, actually, interestingly enough. So
Makes sense. Can you
it's
speak
just
to
it's
that?
just your brain becoming really good at actually figuring out when to fire different muscles. So
That makes sense.
So
I
when
wrote
to
a whole
like
paper
better
about it. It will be
anticipate.
coming out soon on the BBM website.
It's kind of like when people say, "Oh, I have muscles that are sore that I didn't even know that I had."
Yeah. Well.
But kind of goes back to that like neurological
Yeah.
stimulation.
And also like when someone starts something brand new, it's like, yeah, you probably haven't used your adductors in that dynamic way in a long time. Like
Right.
they're gonna, even though you're
Yep.
doing squats or something like that.
Yeah.
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 Okay. I would love to talk a little bit about birth control with you, Claire. I
What
want
do
to
you
take
want to
this.
talk about?
Okay. So I just think that there's a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of confusion about it. And I don't know what's coming from these birth control companies. I don't know what's coming from like big pharma. I just don't know. So most of us are on some form of it. I'm not. I'm also queer, so I don't have no need really. But we
I'm
don't
raw
hear
dog.
what?
I'm raw dog.
And Kelsey's raw dog. And so neither of us are on birth control. But we don't hear much about how it affects performance or
Yeah.
changes performance or even at all. So if you could speak to that. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
So the current literature, when looking at birth control, says that naturally cycling women do perform a little bit better in their sport. But there's a huge caveat. Getting pregnant is wildly problematic for performance. So if you're worried about performance and you're like, oh, but like naturally cycling is better, I argue that the risk of getting pregnant is too great.
A bigger hindrance.
Yeah, exactly.
To your
Like,
performance.
yeah. Yes, you are slightly, and I mean slightly better. It's not like leaps and bounds ahead of your counterparts. You are slightly better naturally cycling, except for the fact that you are at higher risk for getting pregnant. So if
Can you give
you
an
are not at
example?
risk,
Sorry, I cut you off.
an example of what?
Of like, is it more? Does it affect power more, endurance more, like just overall the umbrella of performance is affected?
I don't remember the exact statistics
Okay.
from that review because it was a review paper, and so the overall review said like generally women do better not cycle syncing or
So
not,
maybe we could
True, yes,
assume,
but also
but also
so we could probably assume like little bits of all of it, right?
little
Like
bit of
whether
all
it's
of it. Yeah,
endurance, whether it's power output.
yeah, it's a good
You could
paper.
also probably argue that being on birth control, even with that small sliver of decline in performance, small again, that normalizing your period and subsequent symptoms, maybe you have
Mhm.
like on a natural cycle, you have really bad cramps, right? Like I know a lot of people use birth control to manage like PCOS, endometriosis, whatever.
Mhm.
So like maybe using that birth control would ultimately enhance your performance because you're no longer having those crippling symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly why I'm on it.
Yeah.
um, because I also am not at risk of like getting pregnant, but
Mhm.
it makes it so much easier for me. Like not having to worry about having to find a tampon every 3 weeks is really nice. So
Yeah.
particularly on a 3 week cycle, like I'm bleeding a third of the time. It sucks.
so,
So
and you mentioned you have an IUD.
uh-huh. Yeah, and I don't bleed at all.
Do you
It
feel
sounds
comfortable
wonderful.
talking through how you even arrived at like which one to choose, like how you
Sure,
might
yeah.
outweigh the benefits and risks?
Yeah. So for me, and obviously this is only my personal opinion. I am not a physician. I'm not your physician.
Not a
Uh,
physician yet.
not yet. Definitely not your physician yet. Talk to your physician. Um, but I cannot take a pill at the same time every day to save my life. My life is just very dynamic. I'm moving around a lot. I'm doing a lot of things, and I am never in the same place at the same time, and I never have the same bag with me at the same time. So it is impossible for me to take birth control at the same time every day. And it has to be taken at the same time. That's how it works for that pill. And so I wanted something long term that was I didn't have to think about, that I didn't have to put any effort into, and uh that was the IUD. And I chose one that would hopefully, I got lucky that it removed all of my symptoms. Like I had cramps that were to the point where I was like puking.
Mm.
I was in so much pain and I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So I got my IUD and I opted for the Mirena, which a little bit more difficult if you've never had a baby. So nulliparous women struggle a little bit more with IUDs. It hurts a little bit
Mm.
more just because your cervix has never opened. So
I've
getting
never
something,
had an IUD. How is that like?
Oh my I just got
Have you
the
done
worst
IUD?
gut. I just got the worst drop in my stomach. Me thinking about that piece of plastic being shoved up into your little baby cervix.
You've done it, Brie?
Oh yeah, I had the Mirena for 5 years
Oh.
for the full term.
So what's that pain like?
it sucks.
It's short, it's quick, but it's like, you know, like, and
Yeah,
then I was like a little bit lightheaded after just because of like it's truly shocking is what it feels like. Getting
And
it.
how often do you have to do that?
5 years.
Every 5 years.
I think it's been moved to 7 now.
Hmm.
Actually, I think they've extended the life of it. But
I straight up
Nice.
I've
kept
had
that
it
thing in there for
placed.
6 years.
I've had 3 placed now. So 2 removed, 3 placed. It is not comfortable. I highly recommend asking your physician for some form of pain reduction that is beyond ibuprofen, because they tell you to take ibuprofen before you come in,
Sure.
because you actually, and that makes sense, like you want that ibuprofen kicked in before you start that process. that's what actually makes the pain better. More and more they're doing like more cervical pain reduction, like literally like numbing the cervix itself, because your cervix will like tilt because your uterus can move inside your body. And so as it moves around, if you're trying to push something through the cervix, you need it to be stabilized, because how the IUD is loaded is your IUD has little arms, and then those
Looks like a little
arms,
T.
Like a little umbrella.
yeah, it looks like a T, and those arms are actually brought up like this by its ears. So it looks like it's diving into a pool, and it's loaded in this like long tube thing, like a straw, but sturdier and medically safe. So they measure the size of
All
your
the guys, if we have any guy listeners, they're like, "Oh, I'm turning this off."
Well, a lot of times we do this shit for you, so you better listen up.
Yeah, listen up, men.
So they measure the length of the depth of your uterus, and then they load the IUD to that depth. And part of how the IUD works is it not only releases hormones, but it also, the arms should tuck pretty close to your fallopian tubes, and they actually cause a little bit of local inflammation that prevents things from going into your fallopian tubes.
Cool.
Is
Fun
that how the
fact.
Paragard works?
No, the Paragard, well, partially, but the Paragard also, the copper makes
copper.
your uterus inhospitable
Okay.
to sperm.
And then there's like a little bit of that like local inflammation situation that you were talking about. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm following.
Yep. And so that's what happens. Yeah, it's uncomfortable to get one, but I I have a this is a lot of information, but I was once getting my IOD placed, and I wanted to know about tubal ligation because I know I don't want children. And they were like, "Well, why do you get an IUD?" And I was like, "Well, for birth control and for this like terrible, terrible pain that I have when I'm on my period." And they're like, "Well, if this mitigates your pain and you're going to do this for the next 10 years, 30 years, then it doesn't make sense for you to also get your tubes tied. Like going under general anesthesia is not worth it if you're still going to do this, because I'm doing it for pain."
Got
But
it.
I
So
was literally
if you had your tubes tied, you'd still get a period?
Mhm.
Oh, fuck. That sounds terrible.
So you have to get that whole thing removed to get no period.
Yeah, but I
Hysterectomy.
wouldn't do that. That's not worth it.
No, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like that's a major surgery, and the risks associated with losing an entire organ are non-zero. And again, I'm not an OBGYN, uh, but your risk for prolapse goes up, because you are also removing a bunch of ligaments that all hold your uterus in place. There's like 6 of them, 4 of them.
Your pelvic
I
floor
just took anatomy
probably
of the last.
needs a lot of training and a lot of help after something like that too.
Well, also the uterus, there are literally ligaments that attach from the uterus to your pelvic bones to hold it up. And if you remove the uterus, there's nothing to hold it up. You have to reattach those to the vaginal canal, but that's not as good as like the like we're made relatively well. It's amazing that we all come out as well as we do. But
Thanks, God.
Are there any thank you for walking us through kind of like the decision making process and like your symptoms that you were experiencing. And I know we're like taking longer time than we usually do, but I think this is important. Like, what things did you try to alleviate your super bad cramping, like in like before you started the IUD
I think I got my
consideration?
IUD when I was in college.
Okay.
So I was like not far enough into it to be like trying a lot of stuff. But I will say, when I see those ads for like PMS reduction pills, it's straight bullshit. The studies they're based on are absolute bullshit.
We're
There's
talking about supplements, or we're talking
Mhm.
about
Yeah, yeah. So like I
On
don't
brand.
remember. They're like made from some plant. Which
like ashwagandha or something?
no, it's not that.
It
But
does everything, you know.
there is this there's a prominent figure who I will not name in our group, in our like training space, and she has made her business about propping women up within the fitness space, but then sells these bullshit pills to try and help women with their PMS. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. So
It's funny how many people are comfortable taking whatever supplements the fitness influencers are
Mhm.
touting, and yet on in the same breath are like, I don't trust big pharma. It's like, do you know how many studies have to support quote unquote big pharma to be on the shelves that you can are able to get from your doctor?
Fun fact that I learned this year:
I love fun facts.
prenatal vitamins are not approved by the FDA.
Obviously, no supplements are.
I know, but I was like, prenatal vitamins obviously would be. No,
Right. It's
wrong.
like the closest you would get to like a prescription potentially,
Yeah,
right?
but they're not.
Oh.
But we learned about the whole process of like bringing a pill to market or a drug to market, and it for most drugs, except for funny enough, Viagra, takes like 15 years because
Yeah.
you do like concepts, and then you do a bunch of testing for just safety, not even if this thing works. Safety comes first and then we do efficacy, and it's just crazy how long it takes. And people are like, "Oh, my favorite influencer started selling these pills that should help my period." Stop.
Right.
Just stop.
So it
Right.
sounds like almost that's kind of a light bulb moment. Like the supplement industries are capitalizing on the fact that the FDA takes so long. So it's like, oh, fuck it, Wild Wild West. We'll just
Sure, yeah.
throw
I would
something in
also
there.
say, like, if you think about how much money the supplement industry makes and the wellness industry makes versus what big pharma makes a fraction of what the wellness industry makes. So like, people who are marketing on the wellness industry, definitely don't trust those people.
So go back to our supplement episode. I don't remember what
And the
number that is.
misinformation episode as well.
Yes, supplements, misinformation. We've got episodes on all of that. So we go into the logistics of registering drugs. So check those out and be careful and cautious of your supplements. Yeah, you definitely don't need supplements for your period. And if you are going to get any supplements, go to the NSF website to validate them. That's as best as you're going to get in terms of quality. So one more thing on birth control before we kind of shift to what we do with all this information. So if someone, a client, is concerned with some health impacts of taking hormonal birth control, what would you tell them?
I personally would tell them to go talk to their OBGYN.
Yeah, that's the
um
advice.
yeah, so those individuals are trained specifically, and your GP also, general practitioner, or your family doctor, those people are trained in how to talk about the side effects of birth control. But as we've already said, being pregnant is a higher risk state than being on birth control. Like a lot. Like, yes, being on birth control does have downsides, like all medications do, but those medications or those downsides do not outweigh the downsides that come from pregnancy. Being pregnant, risk is so much higher, but also like the long-term effects of being pregnant, not just like while you're pregnant, but the impact of it long term, not just on your autonomy, your independence, like those are part of it, but also on your health, right? All of those things matter, and all of those things need to be taken into account. It's not just this like, how good do I feel now? How healthy am I right now? It's also like, how healthy are we planning for you to be in the future? And if you are pregnant and you don't want to be, and you're not able to reach your goals, then what? Like, that has lasting effects too, which I would argue that a pregnancy which results in a child is going to be have a much longer lasting effect than uh, being on birth control. So,
Right.
well, actually, they both have lasting effects. Just like one
Can I
has a
ask
lot
you
more
like a
responsibility.
super flat out question? And you
Sure.
can just say, we don't have the time. True or false? Birth control has the potential to affect your natural hormonal patterning.
False.
False. Okay, one
False.
more sentence. Why?
It depends. Okay, so it depends on what birth control you're on.
Okay.
But your body will revert back to its normal natural cycling. Your pituitary gland will stimulate your thyroid. Your thyroid will do its thing. Your pituitary gland will activate your sex producing glands, so your ovaries or your testes. All of those things will come back to normal eventually. It might take a couple cycles, but it will. But you need to talk to, like, if you're planning to come off of birth control and then try for getting pregnant, you need to talk to your physician about what that process looks like for things like I forget what it's called. It's the implant for your arm.
Implanon.
Nexplanon.
Yep.
Nexplanon. Together we got there.
Nexplanon goes in the
I think it used to be Implanon, and then the second generation it became Nexplanon.
It's probably when I stopped sleeping.
That's immediate. Like, you take that out and you are immediately able to get pregnant. Same with the IUD, pretty immediate. Birth control pills, I think, are a little bit more variable depending on the formulation of them, but that is a question for your physician. But
not your personal trainer.
Definitely not your personal trainer, because I can guarantee the education that I have as a personal trainer, as a coach, versus the education that I have been getting I finished 1 year of medical school, and I'm admittedly very interested in women's health, and so I go, like, searching and digging for these things, and I can understand them because I have this background that I've learned in school. But, like, and I talk to a lot of OBGYNs on the daily. None of this stuff is going to be understood by your trainer. None of it, unless they have a background in it. So
okay, Claire, I'm really excited that you were here and just you debunked some things for me, for sure. Like, I definitely have some upgrading to do of my baseline knowledge of female hormones and the female body, and I just really appreciate you being here. But I also want to know, what do we do with all this information now? You talked a lot about training, cycle syncing, autoregulation. Like, what is, if you could scream it from the rooftops, what would you want women to hear, and what would you want them to do with this information?
If I had to give women any advice, it would be to train for longevity, and not train to, like, live a long time, but, like, train to be strong for a long time. Like, train to be strong for forever. And train with that in mind. That's really hard for humans to do. We don't have the best, like, long-term vision in that way. So what I would say, though, is, and back to your comment, thank you so much for saying that I have, like, changed some things for you. I also wrote an article about all of this. It's like 23 pages long. Damn. It's a very long article, but it's all on the BBM website, and I can give you guys the link to share it.
We'll put it in the
Barbell Medicine, by the way, folks.
Yeah, BBM stands for Barbell Medicine. It's not BM, that's bowel movement. BBM is Barbell Medicine.
We'll put that article in the show notes.
Yeah. That, like, if you want to, like, truly deeply understand this and the studies behind what I'm talking about, and, like, my thought process behind that, then you can search there. But I think the biggest thing I want people to do is, like, stop thinking that, I posted this on Instagram the other day, you want this specialized program, you want women specific training because it makes you feel special, and what you actually are looking for is personalized programming. And you're just finding this cheap alternate version that doesn't actually help you. So instead of looking for that, go find true high quality programming
that's customizable to you and where you're at in life, maybe, and what your obstacles are, and what's obstructing you from becoming this resilient athlete, instead of, oh, I'm just a woman, so because my body does this thing, I should treat it this certain way. No, your body is feeling great on some days, shitty on some days. You tackle it for that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And, like, autoregulation is going to be your biggest tool. There's a reason we use it for all various manners of life circumstances, good and bad. And, like, it's fine. It doesn't need to be anything special.
And then to take away with your with the information you shared about birth control, like, what do you want? What do you think? Again, you said ask your OBGYN. You want us to ask?
Yeah. Do what's best for you. Stop listening to these people who literally do have a foot in the game, a runner in the race, right? Because they're trying to sell something or like convince you of their own ideals around the world. Instead, look at something critically, think about what your values are and what matters to you, and operate off that. Because if and find people who can do that without telling you something, right?
Yeah.
So
Last thing before we wrap up, these are going to be 3 rapid fire questions. You can
We're gonna do
answer in a couple sentences. Like
okay.
just keep it brief. First one, how long is a normal cycle and what are the signs of an irregular period?
Yeah, normal cycle is, or a average normal cycle is 28 days. That can range anywhere from 21 to 30, I think 4. Um lots of and the signs of an irregular cycle are going to be beyond my current body of knowledge. You will
Okay.
need to ask someone smarter than me.
Okay, great. Training pregnant, yes or no in one sentence?
Yes. Again, if you do not have any of the higher risk pregnancy symptoms, which would be detailed through the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. They have a whole page on exercise and pregnancy. Follow their guidelines. General guidelines would be exercise while you're pregnant. Generally, it should be similar to what you were doing before you were pregnant. If you start exercising when you become pregnant, ease into it. But as long as your physician has not given you any restrictions, and that would be who you would talk to about restrictions, you are fine to exercise.
And then last one, what are 3 to 5 things every woman should do to keep their hormones stable or consistent or just keep themselves feeling good?
You have very little control over your hormones, actually, so you can't do anything to keep those normal or consistent. You can speak with your doctor regularly if you are concerned, and they can help you make sure that things are okay.
Maybe a better question is 3 to 5 things. And this was my original question, by the way. But like, what are 3 to 5 things that maybe women should do to like support their cycle? Like, okay, I'm not going to change my training because I'm bleeding. Like, but like you said, like I can make sure I'm getting adequate sleep. I can hydrate better. Like, obviously the lifestyle stuff that we always talk about. But are there specifics that you might give us about nothing?
Nope.
No, just treat your
Nope.
body like a queen, like we should.
Sleep enough and high quality sleep. Eat fruits and vegetables and enough protein. Uh, eat enough carbs. And I think the only other thing that I would add here would be do the right amount of training. We did not talk about REDS at all, which is totally fine. That's a whole separate and bigger
I did my
podcast.
master's thesis on REDS. I would love to talk about that with you at
Sure.
any point.
Yeah, we can do another one. This is fine. Relative energy deficiency, where people are not eating enough, that would be the only other thing where I'd be like, that's probably something we want to be a little bit more careful of in women's sports and women's health, or like women's exercise, because particularly right now we're seeing a trend back towards like 2000 skinny levels. But I wouldn't say that that's like actually a problem for most people, because we are actually dealing with the opposite problem within the society that we live in. So like you need
You're
to
saying
just be aware
obesity
of both.
specifically, like we're talking about people under eating, but then the US has a problem of like obesity and overeating, you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I always say eat the right amount, not
Yeah.
eat enough or eat less, because you can do too much of either, right? So like eat the right amount for your goals. For a lot of people who are in endurance or strength training, probably means you need to eat more. For a lot of other people, that can mean, hey, maybe we need to be a little bit more aware of BMI and waist circumference and how we get you back towards things that put you at lower risk. So
Claire, thank you so much. I know I
thank
haven't
you.
gotten
This
to
was really
spend a
fun.
lot of time with you, but this felt like such sacred borrowed time. So thank you for giving us the science, the nuance, and the permission to show up in the gym with more self-trust, compassion, and of course, auto-regulation. Can
Always auto
you let our
regulation.
listeners know where they can find us and find your work?
Yeah.
Find you and your work.
So you can find all of us. It's fine.
All of us.
So the easiest place to contact me personally is going to be through Instagram. So it's Claire_Barbell is my Instagram handle. And then you can also email me, Claire@barbellmedicine.com. And then all of the stuff that I post like the long form articles I make are going to be on the Barbell Medicine website. So
And whether you're lifting on day 1 or day 14, remember your body isn't broken, you're just human. And if you found this episode helpful, send it to your girlfriends or guy friends and connect with us on Instagram at overt_thinking podcast, at Brianna Lamb, at Kelsey Michelle. And we will see you
In the next
in the next episode.
episode.